Good morning, namaste. Welcome to the 12th Sacred Sunday Sadhana. Today I invite you to do something of care for yourself while you listen to the Sadhana. I'm seated in butterfly pose so that my feet are exposed and I'm just massaging them with olive oil. And it feels great. I'm going on a hike later today, so I want to give my feet lots of love and gratitude. I also have this fabulous, two fabulous oil blends from Edie. Remember Darren Wallman, whose sound bath we attended? And for Solar Plexus Tribe, who we were hoping to attend, but COVID happened and we'll go in the spring. But I have these Harmony and Clarity oils that I just got in the mail from them yesterday, and they're amazing. They're amazing. So surround yourself with the things that you need. You can pause and just go get what you need to make this into a sacred Sunday practice for yourself. I do want to remind you that anytime you massage yourself with oil, you're giving yourself love. So we call in Ayurveda, the practice of massage is called abhyanga. And the word for oil in Sanskrit is the same as the word for love. I knew it until I just put myself on the spot. Sneha. Sneha. All right. If I'm crinkling around today, it's because I have a new tattoo and it is wrapped in saran wrap, and I apologize for that sound effect. Get your tea. This morning I'm drinking bone broth, and let's settle in. Breathe into your belly. See if you can ground your energy down into the earth below you. And I'm going to open our talk today with a quote from Anais Nin. And the day came when the risk to remain in a tight bud was more painful than the risk it took to bloom. I've been thinking a lot about contraction and expansion. And it's sort of the same thing that we talk about. Like if you look at all of these videos, it's almost like the same thing repackaged in different words. And I think that's okay, because with the repetition is how we learn. And maybe sometimes you hear something in a different way that speaks to you like, oh, or it reaches a new level where you're like, oh. And for me, I was listening to Timber Hawkeye's Buddhist Bootcamp podcast this week, and he spoke about contraction versus expansion. I was like, wow, I've never thought of it in those terms. But you know, remaining in this tight, guarded space of like not letting anything in, not letting anything out, protecting what you do. My door is open for the cats to come in and out, so excuse the honking neighbors. But just like creating this like closed off version of yourself, sure, it can be really protective of that which you care about and that which you want to control. But again, is it worth it? Like you're shutting yourself off from everything, putting on this armor, putting up the shields. You're afraid to be hurt, and so you're just like guarded. And so what a cool thing, especially in a yoga training, to think of it as contraction versus expansion. It's like the muscles are literally pulling on the bone, and that's tiring, right? We can't stay in a state of flexion all the time. I can't hang out with my bicep flexed 24 hours a day. The muscle strands would break. They would roll up like guitar strings. There has to be some expansion, or the heart breaks, you know? There has to be that opening and softening, that vulnerability, that surrender. We just can't maintain that state of closed offness all the time. And if we do, we become that curmudgeon, and we start to develop really severe kyphosis, and to the point where, have you ever seen people you know, at the grocery store, or every now and then in public, I might see a person who's perpendicular. You know, their like legs are straight and then their torso is completely folded forward. And I'm not going to surmise what's going on with them. I'm not going to judge anybody, but I'm saying that could happen to us from the extreme contraction that we're doing. So I invite you today and all this week to just sit with what it would feel like to be soft, like we talked about last week, but also expansive. Like, do you want to remain in a tight bud, or are you ready to risk opening to the world? Can you blossom? Can you see what's in there? You might even see something about yourself or smell the fragrance of yourself that you've never even seen or smelled. This is a flower analogy, of course. So let's take some expansive breaths to start. In your seated position, see if you can open the chest, open the collarbones, spread the collarbones far from each other, engage your back muscles. So maybe we can do some contracting in the back in order to open and expand in the chest, especially if you're typing all day on a computer or on your phone all day, or nursing babies all day, or doing dishes all day, or fixing food, or biking, anything that's like causing you to be like this. Maybe you can give yourself a little break from that habitual tendency, and even though it won't feel good at first, maybe you can start to open and release all the musculature in the front of the chest and really engage that musculature in the upper back. Get a really strong upper back going. Spread open the collarbones. And as you're breathing into your belly, but holding your chest in this open position, see what happens. See how much more breath you can take in. Let it fill the new places. Let it fill all the expansion that you've just created. And then can you do that and now soften the back? So keeping the chest open and breathing again very fully and deeply. But this time softening the back. Just getting really soft everywhere. To further make this point, and please just continue breathing into expansion. I'm going to just quote, I have at least 3 more quotes that I want to share with you today. And they're quasi-quotes because they're as I remember them, so they're loose. That'd be a slant quote, you know, with a rhyme, if it almost rhymes with a slant rhyme. So I'm going to do some slant quotes. Pema Chodron, the Buddhist nun, who I adore and admire, talks about how we can get this closed-mindedness where our world becomes the size of a postage stamp. And all we know and all we do is right there in the corner of an envelope. Like, that's it. That's the level of expansion we have. We're just a little postage stamp. And that it's isolating and it's lonely and it's the opposite of expansive. And then if we kind of just shine a light on just what's around the corner and we just start to branch out and branch out and branch out, pretty soon our lives are expansive and inclusive, and we've emptied that cup where we think we know everything. And we've just opened our beginner's mind so that we can actually learn. You have to be empty to learn. If you're full, like if you just know everything and you know what you want and you got what you got and you do what you do, like here you are in this little postage stamp and you know everything, that's great. But once you're ready to stop knowing everything, stop knowing anything, that's when the real beauty begins, where you get to be this empty container. And your container is flexible, and expansive, but strong like bamboo. And you're just opening and learning and getting really smart mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So that's Pema's take on it, that postage stamp, you know. When the comfort zone gets so tight, you start to live in a postage stamp and you cut yourself off from the rest. This Bill Bryson quote will be direct because I have it here in front of me. Bill Bryson, I'm so sorry, I do love Bill Bryson. He's the short history of nearly everything guy, as well as he wrote the book called The Body, which I really like. This is not Bill Bryson, this is Eckhart Tolle. When you are aware of space, keep breathing expansively while you listen, please. While you are aware of space, you are not really aware of anything except awareness itself, the inner space of consciousness. Through you, the universe is becoming aware of itself. Just as space enables all things to exist, and just as without silence there could be no sound, you would not exist without the vital formless dimension that is the essence of who you are. So if you're a vital formless dimension and that's your essence, that doesn't sound very contracted. That sounds expansive. Which leads me to Jill Bolte Taylor, the neuroanatomist who had a stroke and wrote the book Stroke of Insight. She talks about when she was having an out-of-body experience. I don't know if it was during surgery to correct what had taken place during her stroke, or if it was during the beginning of the stroke itself, but she talks about seeing herself down in the hospital bed and thinking like, how am I gonna fit this expansive body back into that little corporeal body? How am I gonna get this genie back in the bottle? How can I be this expansive love, this formless entity, and fit and squeeze back into that little body? And for me, it's so beautiful because you don't have to know how you're doing it to be able to do it, you know? But we're doing it now. We are these expansive creatures, and we're hanging out in these beautiful temples to have this human experience. You know, we're being human right now. But remember, this isn't who we are. This is not who we are. This is the safety container for living here on Earth. But that doesn't take away from how expansive and how expressive and how just infinitely pure and beautiful and full of light you are. We are. And when you're expansive, it's not always pleasant. I'm gonna harp back to last weekend when I was in the muck, so to speak, with my daughter. I had this really great experience. It was different than any other conflict we've ever had. In a way that afterwards I didn't have to berate or judge myself for the way that I acted, because I know that the way that I was in that particular scenario was the absolute best that I could do. And you know, it's one of the 4 agreements. You're impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions, don't take things personally, and do your best. And sometimes I'll come away from a situation and I'm like, no, it really wasn't the best I could do. And your best looks different from day to day. But at that time, it was really wonderful to feel like, you know, I was really operating at the highest level that I can. Like, that was my ultimate boundary of awareness right there. The way that I responded without reacting, pajama pants, and the way I was able to be expansive even when it hurt, you know? She was saying things from her experience as a teenage girl, and I was allowing, you know, I wasn't closed and guarded. I was open and expansive. I was not contracting during our conversations. And it was painful. It was really painful. So sometimes being expansive isn't going to be like, oh yeah, this feels amazing, I'm a genie. You know, it's just more like, okay, I'm open, I'm raw. I'm feeling. Feeling is part of the gift/pain, or the gift/ downside to being human, is to feel. So I really got to feel, but I didn't let it contract me. I just stayed expansive, and I worked with it. And I was just telling myself, like, this is okay. This is okay. This is okay. This is okay. You're gonna be okay. And I was, of course. And I feel like because of that, I'm maybe now even more expansive. And that's wonderful. What do they say? I remember the midwives at Women's Birth and Wellness Center in Chapel Hill. They tell moms who are about to have their second baby that this is going to break your heart, but your heart has to break in order to expand. So use that. And I also think of the Grinch. Not that you're Grinchy, not that I'm Grinchy, but you know, his little heart grew 3 sizes that day, and it just like busts out of that golden frame. That's what I want to be, you know? I want to be expansive. I want to be limitless in my love. How can I offer unconditional love to myself and my children? How can I offer unconditional positive regard to the community if I have conditions, you know? Like if I have these like constrictive postage stamp situational boxes where I'm like, if this and if this, then I'm gonna let you feel my love. But if this and this, no. That's not really how I want to be. It's not how I want to be seen. It's not how I want to be felt and heard in the world. I want to be expansive. I don't want to dull my light. That's another way to think of it. Like, why not shine as brightly as you can shine? And, you know, not letting yourself burn out, not overdoing it for sure, but have you been in a situation where you just woke up, it's one of those days, you're just feeling really good, you're skipping, everything's kind of synchronistic, and you're just like grooving along, the lights are all turning green for you, life is good, you're feeling good, you've got some really creative ideas, there's no line at the bank, you know those days, and then you might see somebody who just like kind of wrecks your mood because they're in such a terrible mood, and somehow you being in such a great mood is offensive to them. And then I think in that moment, what I do is kind of dim up a little bit, you know, I start to contract, like, okay, this is my light. Stop trying to get my light in your shadow. I'm just gonna close up a little bit to get my light. But what if in those scenarios, we could just say, yeah, you know what? Whatever you're thinking about how my light is, that's on you, and I'm not gonna take that personally and make it about me, and I'm actually not gonna take any of your shadow. I'm just gonna be the light that I am because I am expansive. One more quote. Fiona Apple, I might even sing it. Be kind to me or treat me mean. I'll make the most of it. I'm an extraordinary machine. So regardless of our response or reaction to someone else, can we stay expansive? And there's going to be some days, you know, I'm not light all the time. I am not light all the time. but I can still be expansive, even without my bright light and good feeling days, you know, when I'm hitting every red light, when I get to the bank, there's a line, and then it's my turn and I forgot my license or something, you know. Even in those days, it doesn't matter. I can still stay expansive. There's no need for me to contract and close up and be in a bud and be a curmudgeon and be in a ball and tighten my grip like Darth Vader on the star systems that are just gonna slip through my fingers. Why would I choose that ever if I can choose to just be open and be expansive and notice and be aware? This is what this day feels like. This is not permanent. Nothing is permanent. I don't know if you can hear my tummy growling, but it is growling. And so I'm going to go and have some breakfast, and I will leave you to do the same. And I just thank you so sincerely for being here with me for Sacred Sunday Sadhana. And even now that the training is over, I hope that you'll keep tuning in. I'm gonna keep being here every Sunday for you, for me. It's good for me too. The expansion inside me sees the expansion inside you. Namaste.